Welcome to Blender. In this video, we are going to be making this house, just the modeling part of it. The next couple videos will be physics models and load models and texturing, and we're going to get this thing into Second Life as high quality as possible. So, okay guys, we are going to make us a base mesh in Second Life so that we can export it into Blender and have a good reference to size and scale. So I'm just going to click build up here and click build and click ground, make a cube. And then if you hold shift and control, you can access your scale. And we just want to get this thing kind of the size that we want it to be overall. So our door height, we're going to make probably, I'm going to go with, for the ceiling height, I'm going to go with 5 meters. And that should give us enough. And we can test this by hollowing this thing out over here and cutting us a path. And then just doing it on the other side of the object. Let's run around here and find it. Where you at? There it is. Cut us a path. That way we can check out what's going on in here. So that's probably going to be alright for the height. The scale's still not right though. So what do we got for height? We got, if I hit the buttons again. So we have 5 meters for the height. But the scale, I don't know. We're going to make her, let's go with 10 wide and I think we'll do like 15 deep. So, okay, 15 is probably too much. Yeah, I don't want it that long. Take a look at our reference. It's almost perfectly square, but I don't think it's square. Let's try 12. That's looking pretty good. You know what? Let's do 12 or 11. So 11 by 12 by 5. You can see that up there. And then we need something for the door height, so let's make another one. And we will scale it up. See how big we want the door. I think that might be alright for the door. Let's actually make an even number though. 3 meters for the door. Now let's do 3.5 and 2 meters wide for the door hole. And I'm just going to go ahead and squish this up. I think that'll be okay for a door size. And we can do window size too as well. So that and rotate it this way. Move it over here, move it up. Come outside, get that out. Want to be able to look out the window when we stand there. So move it down a little bit. That's probably pretty good for a window. So I'm going to go ahead and move that into there. And then the overall height of the whole building, I'm going to go ahead and make another brim. Put it in the middle here. Move it up. think that's going to be high enough to actually compensate. I don't think this needs to be this high, so I'm going to move it down. And I think the door is actually a little higher than the side of the wall over there. So, yeah, I'm going to do 3 meters for the side wall. And then I need to shrink my window a little bit. So we'll go back out here. I think I'll just move the window down to there. That's probably good. And I'm going to scale it down to 1.5. I think that'll be fine. I can actually move it back up a little bit. Yep. That way our overhang doesn't kill the window. And I think that'll be good for a reference. It'll give us a lot of space inside. The roof will be plenty high because of the peak. I want the peak a little higher than that, I think. Well, it's hard to get a hold of that. I don't know why I changed that. Oops. I think I want to rotate it a little more. I'm just trying to get a base going here to give us an idea of what we want to do with our roof also. So oh my god, that's such torture. That'll probably be good. So this is what I'm going to use for my base mesh. Now, in order to get this out, we need to select all our parts. And don't forget our window. And then link them together. And then we can right click on, close that. Right click on your object. Edit, make sure it's all one piece. It is. So right click it. And if you're in Firestorm, you just click more and more, save as, Collada, save as, and then choose where it's going to go. Probably should have made a new folder for this, but I didn't. But we're just going to rename it House Base Frame. And make sure you save it in a good spot and just save it. Now we can get out of Second Life. And hop back into Blender. And go to File, Import, Collada, because that's what we saved it as. Desktop. And double click it and it pulls it in here. And this is the actual size that it came out of Second Life, so we can use this for scale to build our model. Okay, so we have our mock-up model in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the image in that I need.
for our reference, which is this guy. Drop it. And as usual, screencast keys are not on. Select the, make sure the image is selected, and we're going to do Alt-G and Alt-R. Then we're going to rotate it on the X by 90 and GY and move it back. And I'm going to go into front mode by hitting 1 on the number pad. And this thing is not where I want it, so let's select all of it. Hit 1 again, and we're just going to position it kind of center-ish. Because our house is on an angle in the picture. You know what? I'm just going to move it over to the side. And we're going to use this because that's pretty proportionate. Alright, so we're going to start off by making our floor. I'm not going to use any of this mesh for our actual building because it's a mess and you'll have to fix everything because it came from Second Life. It's a whole bunch of triangles and just bad geometry. So we're going to start with our floor. So I'm going to make a plane, Shift A mesh plane, and I'm going to hit 7, and I'm just going to scale it up. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into edit mode with it. Go to edge select, go up to snapping, and we're going to do edge. And I'm going to grab this one and hit G, Y, and hold control and select the back edge. This one I'm going to hit G, X, hold control, select the side edge. I'll get a little closer so you guys can see what I'm doing. G, X, and snap it to that edge. And the front one, G, Y, and snap it to the front. So now our floor fits our shape perfectly. Alright, we got our plane set up. It's touching every edge of the wall. Now we need to jump into face select mode by hitting 3, and we'll select the face, and we're going to extrude it. We're going to do, we could do 0.5, but we're going to do 1.5 meters on the minus. That way, if we put it on a heel, we got enough wall to actually, have it sit flat and not have grass poking through our floor. Okay, so looking at this thing, I can already tell my normals are screwed up because if you notice, it kind of gets like a different color there, and it's just weird. So I guarantee the normals are messed up. So I'm going to go out of X-ray mode, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to turn on my face orientation, and look, it's all red. So uh, back into edit mode, hit A and shift in, and we'll flip all that the right direction, and we'll turn this face orientation back off. So that's good. Next, we're going to make our roof, and our roof is not angled right, so we're just going to guesstimate it. To make the roof, I'm going to use cylinders, so Shift A, mesh, cylinder, and I'm going to rotate it on the X by 90 to point it at me. And I'm going to scale it up real big and move it over here and jump back into X-ray mode. And I'm going to kind of just give her the roof angle that I want with this cylinder. So I'm going to scale it up even bigger. And I'm looking here if you go in edit mode. So now I can see my vertex to where they're at. And I'm actually going to scale it up a little bigger. And I'm going to put the vertex right on the wall, kind of where I want it. And that'll give us an angle of the roof. And then I'm going to select nothing, hit C. And I'm going to select all this stuff I don't need. And just delete it. Vertices. So that leaves us with that, which is half our roof. And I'm going to Control Z that because I just want to make a copy of this real quick. So I'm going to hit Shift D and X and move it over here out of the way. And then I'm going to hit select nothing, hit C, and select all this stuff that we don't need. Right click and delete it. Vertices. There. So now I have that piece, and I have this over here I can mess with. So I'm going to select vertice here and hit L to select everything, and GX and move it over here. I don't like how that's shaped though, so I'm going to scale it on the X and rotate it a little bit, and then move it back over. Maybe rotate it a little more. I'm just trying to get the height of the wall where I want it. Whoops. I'll do that. I extruded it by accident. You know what, we're going to go with that right there. And I can just move these vertex up a little bit. So I'm going to hit GG and slide them up. And that puts that where it should be. And we'll take this one and hit GG and slide it over to the edge a little better. And that's looking pretty good. And then we can hit C and grab all of those. Oops. Still had that one selected. And we'll grab all of those and delete those. And that gives us our roof. Now we can box select the sides, and we're on the y-axis, so do a SY0 and line them all up. Same thing with this side, SY0, line them all up. And then we can turn our snapping back. Well, we're not turn our snapping on, but I'm going to change it to vertex. And then hit GY and hold control and just touch the edge of our thing here to line it up in the front. And do the same with this one, GY, and I'll touch this corner here. That'll line everything up with that corner. And we have our roof pretty much made. Okay, so since we made these with cylinders, they're probably going to be inside out. Matter of fact, I know they're going to be inside out because if you look, it's dark on this side and lighter on the other side. So we will go back into solid mode. Whoops. And turn our face orientation on. And yep, red and red. That's no good. So we are going to select everything and shift in and flip those. If it doesn't flip, there's a, hit your operator panel and turn inside. And I'm going to hide some of this stuff real quick. So we don't need these anymore. So I'm going to hide those. And we technically don't really need our walls right this second. So I'm going to go ahead and hide those also. And I'm going to select our roof, and I'm going to right click shade smooth it to smooth out the bumpy stuff. So now I want to make our little angular part over here on the other side. So for that, I'm just going to use half of this thing. So I'm going to hit Alt Z. Actually, I'm going to turn face orientation back off. I have face orientation under my hotkeys in object mode. That's why I'm switching to object mode. But you can just go up here and turn it back off in edit mode. So I'm going to hit Alt C, and I'm going to select this guy here, just the top, because it's pretty much the same shape. And I'm going to hit Shift D, and I'm just going to move it over. And then I'm going to hit P and selection and separate it. Back in object mode, back in edit mode. And it's kind of cattywampus there, so I'm going to select the bottom ones, and I'm going to hit a SZ0 and straighten them all up. And then I'm going to select these two edges and do a Control B and bevel it. When you bevel it, it's going to look like that. I'm just scroll my wheel once and put another loop in there, try to make it kind of even and just smooth out that curve because it was just kind of an angle-y thing there. I'm going to scale it on the Y. I don't know, probably about like that. And rotate it on the Z by 90. Before I rotate it, I'm going to right click. I'm in object mode, by the way. Right click, set origin, origin to geometry. Now I'm going to rotate it on the Z by 90. And that looks good. Go back out of X-ray mode. G, X and move it over. And G, Z and move it down. And it kind of lines up right with the bottom here. So I'm going to get it close. kind of closer. And once I get it there, then I can just kind of, I'll snap it to where it needs to be. So back into edit mode, into vertex select mode, I'm going to grab both of these vertices and I'm going to go back to edge and I'm going to hit a GX and hold control and snap it to the edge there so it's perfectly on line. And then I'm going to grab these two, whoops, and I'm just going to do a GZ and hold control and snap it there too, because I don't know if it went up or down or not, and that should be fine. Okay, so we have that made. Couple other issues. One, it's not extending all the way back to the roof, and two, it's just not wide enough. So um, with everything selected, I'm going to hit S, Y, and just scale it wider, and that looks pretty good. And I'm also going to move it on the Y-axis to be kind of more center of the house. That looks pretty good. And in X-ray mode, I'm going to grab the back edges and then go back out X-ray mode and hit GX and just move it till it's in the house, right about there. And we can go back a little bit. Oops, probably about there. Okay, so we got our two roof parts. Now we got to do some fancy stuff to get it merged together. So I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to make a copy of each one of them. And I'm